What was that moment for you when you were like, all right, I'm going from age to fresh? Like, was that a hard jump? For some people, they're like, yeah, I'd rather buy these dollar, $3, $4 leads, get 100 of them. And then I know, you're willing to spend in order to get results. So can you talk about like an agent or talk to agents who are kind of nervous about making that jump from aged to fresh?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one is you can just look at anybody that's running H leads and you can tell by the way they're working, right? There's a thing. When you're running H leads, you're playing a game of like, all right, I'm going to try to get a sale every other day, right? And that's not really a game that you should play in this industry. You should be consistently selling. For that, I'm sorry to tell you, but you need leads that are higher intent than just the effects lead. You can be a dog, you can be an animal, you can work 15 hours a day, but H leads are H leads, right? So you got to realize that actually this is how I look at it, and this is something that Wes, my upline, told me when I first came in, right? Is you're able to invest more and risk more when you know you're all in, right? So it's like from the moment that basically from the moment that I passed my exam, I was like, oh, I'm all in on this. I was willing to leave everything on the table, right? And when he said that, I was like, he's right. I mean, money's going to come back to me anyways. I'm all in, so I'm going to make this work regardless of if this pack, if this lead works out or not. I'm going to make this work. And also, the other thing that I'll point out is, would you rather spend 2 grand to make six, or would you rather spend six to make 20? Right. So anybody with a brain is going to say, oh, I would way rather spend six to make 20. Well, it's the same logic that is behind H leads and fresh leads, right? Same exact thing. So that's what I'll leave it at. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you for explaining that. That is, I mean, that's the truth from top to bottom. I know a lot of agents struggle with understanding that because they want to play yeah, spent $200 and I made 4 grand. It's like, yeah, but if you spent, 2 grand and made eight, then you still made eight. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know what I mean? So people want to play that game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's important to understand what is that jump. Now, you mentioned something earlier about leads. Can you talk about this is super important, and I talk a lot about demographics of lead types. Can you talk about the difference between a final expense lead itself, how they think, obviously the AP, just everything that you know about final expense, and compare that to a veteran from your experience?
I can do that. That's really easy. I love talking about this stuff. Final expense lead, it is a lead. It's just your typical old grandma that you see in the store, in the grocery store 24/7. Right? Sometimes they're using like the coupons for the food coupons. They're on Social Security most of the time. They don't have a lot of money. Their pay comes in one time a month. And it's not a whole lot. And usually they are unhealthier. They're the unhealthier side of America for sure, because of the way they grew up or the way they're treating themselves now. It doesn't matter. I can just guarantee that they're unhealthier. And vet leads, on the other hand, I'll put it this way. So vet leads are veterans, right? When you think of a veteran, what do you think of? You think of a hardworking man or woman that was in the military, that served a purpose. So that means they care about something, means they cared about not only just, their family, but they care about everybody else in the USA, right? So they have a sense of caring for others and watching out for others, makes them really inclined to buy life insurance to take care of them once they're gone. Other thing that I will say, most of the time they're let's put it this way, even a person that's like any veteran, they're harder working than any other final expense lead, right? Because the way they grew up. For example, let's say they were in the military for 3 years and they were there until 22. I guarantee that after those 22 years, the military for 3 years taught them enough discipline to get a job, stick to it, and work, right? So that means their retirement is going to be pretty good, for example. Then we can talk about disability. Disability is huge. The VA is going to offer the disability for any veteran that had something happen to them in service or after service, and they receive a disability rating. Right? Let's say it goes anywhere from 0 to 100%. 100% disabled vets, I tell you right now, they get their Social Security check. They get an extra like 5 to 7 grand a month from the disability check, and then they have, most of the time, some of them worked in government jobs. So they have a pension. They're people with money, right? They're individuals that even when they're at the age of 70, 80, they have enough to throw $500, $600, $700 into a life insurance policy.